My name was Amir. I was a judge in the high court, a figure of authority in a community that valued tradition above all. Respected, yes, but hollow inside. In the solemnity of the courtroom, I felt powerful, yet outside those walls, an emptiness consumed me. My soul, shackled by the weight of expectations, craved something deeper. The echoes of prayers that once brought solace now only amplified my despair. Then, in a moment of frailty, everything changed. A car accident thrust me into darkness. It was there, in the silence of unconsciousness, that I encountered a realm beyond comprehension. I stood before a tribunal, a spiritual court where truths were laid bare. And from that eternal light, a voice called my name, Jesus. He didn't come as a figure of judgment. His words pierced through the fog of my spirit, unraveling the very fabric of what I believed. I saw the spiritual battle we're all embroiled in, a war disguised in the shadows of our existence, where deception reigns and light is obscured. I understood in that celestial confrontation how the chains of my faith had bound me to a system that thrived on control, fear, and indoctrination. When I regained consciousness, the truth I held felt like a torch in the darkness, a revelation that was dangerous and exhilarating. But with this new light came an insidious fear. The repercussions of my newfound belief would shatter the very ties that bound me to my family and community. The weight of expectation bore down on my shoulders, screaming that I was now a traitor. But deep within, a flicker of purpose ignited. I realized this journey was not mine alone. It was a call to awaken others. It was a quest to illuminate the shadows lurking within their hearts. Thus began my secretive search for the truth, a path lined with trials but illuminated by an undeniable peace. Before we dive deeper into this extraordinary journey, I invite you to share where you're watching from and what time it is in your corner of the world. Let's connect across this great divide. And if you feel that stirring in your spirit, subscribe to Truth from Beyond. Love for Jesus transcends all borders, and together we'll uncover the beautiful truths that lie hidden. In the multicultural neighborhood of London where I live, there's a delicate balance between Muslims and Christians, a coexistence that often masks the tension bubbling beneath the surface. My name is Malik, and I'm a high court judge. My professional life revolves around interpreting laws shaped by deeply rooted traditions, including Sharia law and the principles of English common law. Yet, in the midst of my respected position, there lies an unsettling discontent within me, a feeling that the very foundations of my beliefs are being challenged by the realities of the world around me. It all came to a head one fateful evening during a routine day at work. I had attended a series of hearings that left me questioning the very structures I had dedicated my life to. Walking home, I felt an unexpected wave of dizziness, and before I realized what was happening, everything around me slipped away. I found myself plunged into an unfamiliar darkness, one that felt both terrifying and strangely inviting. As I struggled to comprehend my surroundings, a brilliant light pierced through the blackness, and there stood Jesus, radiating an indescribable warmth and peace. When he called my name, I felt every doubt and fear wash away. In that moment, Jesus revealed profound truths about the spiritual war that engulfs our society, a battle that is often fought in silence, hidden behind the masks we wear to navigate everyday life. He opened my eyes to the hidden agendas that manipulate the narratives around faith, politics, and social issues. I saw how the elite used deception to maintain control, fostering division among communities that should stand united. The striking clarity of his revelations confirmed the nagging feelings that had plagued me for so long. The realization that our established doctrines could easily become barriers to experiencing true freedom in God. Emotions surged as I witnessed the struggles of people around me affected by fear. Fear of challenging traditions that no longer serve their spiritual growth. I recognized the pain of those who felt forced to choose between love and loyalty to their cultural practices, and the more profound call of their hearts. Jesus emphasized the urgent need for awakening, an awakening that could free us all from the chains of societal expectations, revealing the truth that transcends religious identity. His message resonated profoundly. I understood I was not just being called for personal transformation, but also to serve as a guide for others still lost in their own darkness. Just as I felt the connection start to fade, I was thrust back to reality, lying on the pavement outside my home, disoriented yet feeling inexplicably empowered. The world around me felt heavier than before, and I was acutely aware of the tension in my cultural and professional spheres. The fear of rejection loomed large as I contemplated sharing my encounter with Jesus. Would my community see me as a heretic? Would I risk the respect I had earned over the years? The thought gripped me, yet I felt an urgent fire within, propelling me to share the truths I had come to understand. I knew that if I remained silent, I would be denying not only my purpose but also the hope that others might find liberation through their own awakening. The spiritual war was no longer just a battle I witnessed. It had become my fight, a cause I was determined to champion. As a high court judge, my life in London revolves around the law, an unyielding commitment to justice and integrity that shapes my every decision. My name is Amir, and at 38, I've spent years navigating the complexities of the legal system, upholding values that should resonate not just in the courtroom, but in the hearts of those I serve. Yet for all my achievements, a persistent emotional void has shadowed me, presenting itself as an unrelenting weight, a burden of spiritual and social obligations that feels increasingly suffocating. The rituals of my faith, once a source of solace, now sit heavy on my spirit, causing me to question the very foundations upon which my life stands. The turning point came unexpectedly during a routine day. I left the court after a particularly challenging case involving social justice, feeling a deep sense of unrest. As I walked through the streets of London, the noise of the city faded, and I was suddenly struck by an overwhelming wave of dizziness. I felt myself slipping, my surroundings blurring until darkness enveloped me. In that moment, I had an experience that would forever change my perception of reality. I found myself standing in a vast, ethereal expanse, where time ceased to exist. And then, amidst the brilliant light, I saw him, Jesus, radiating warmth and compassion, beckoning me closer. When Jesus called my name, it felt as if every doubt I'd ever harbored melted away. In his presence, I was filled with an indescribable peace that contrasted sharply with the turmoil I had felt in life. He revealed to me the spiritual war that rages, not only in the hearts of individuals, but in the very fabric of society. The deception that permeates our understanding of faith and spirituality became painfully clear. I saw how the elite exploit belief systems to manipulate and control, an agenda hidden behind the guise of righteousness that often leaves individuals feeling abandoned and disillusioned. In this moment of revelation, I grasped that my emotional emptiness was not just personal suffering. It was a larger reflection of a collective struggle against forces designed to keep us divided and fearful. As I absorbed these profound truths, it became evident that my life was not merely about legal judgments, but about awakening those around me to the realities of their own spiritual journeys. Jesus showed me the urgency of this mission, the importance of sharing the truth and encouraging others to question the narratives they've been fed. Each face I saw in that light reflected the burdens of doubt and pain, and in that moment I realized the depth of the responsibility I now carried, to serve as a conduit of hope and illumination for those still trapped in darkness, just as I had been. Returning to consciousness in my hospital room was disorienting. The familiar walls felt oppressive compared to the radiant peace I had just experienced. As I lay in bed, grappling with the enormity of what had happened, the role of sharing this revelation weighed heavily on my heart. I was aware that the world I inhabited was not ready for the truths I had encountered. Would my colleagues and the community I so deeply respected reject me if I chose to speak out? The spiritual war one now understood required courage and conviction, a willingness to stand firm in the face of doubt and fear. Just as I sensed the calling to awaken others, I realized that the true battle lay in overcoming my own fears of rejection, to proclaim boldly the truth I had found amidst the shadows. As I knelt in prayer, I couldn't shake the feeling of emptiness that had settled within me. My name is Amir, a 38-year-old High Court judge in London, and I've spent my career dedicated to upholding justice and championing the very tenets of my faith. Yet, as I recited my prayers, the words felt hollow, lacking the vibrancy they once held. I found myself haunted by dreams of a luminous being watching over me, its presence both comforting and unsettling. It stirred something within me, a growing disconnection from the traditions I had upheld for so long, forcing me to question the very foundation of my beliefs. Each morning, I would wake from these dreams, a sense of longing in my heart, wishing to decipher their meaning. Who was this radiant figure, and why did it feel so familiar? With every passing day, the questions grew louder, echoing in my mind until they became impossible to ignore. I began to question the secrets of my faith, the things I had taken for granted without ever really understanding their significance. I sensed that there was more to the story, more than what was handed down through generations wrapped in dogma and tradition. The realization that my spiritual journey felt trapped beneath layers of established norms weighed heavily on me. In my dreams, Jesus appeared before me, his light dispelling the shadows that plagued my waking life. Each time he spoke gently but firmly, revealing truths that shook me to my core. I was shown the spiritual war that rages around us, a battle that's fought not just in distant lands but within the hearts and minds of individuals everywhere. The deception that permeates our understanding of faith was laid bare before me, exposing the hidden agendas of the elite, whose control perpetuates suffering and division among us. I felt a profound urgency rising within me, an awakening that compelled me to confront the realities I had once ignored. The stark contrast between the comfort of my routine and the revelations I was experiencing created a deep tension in my spirit. I began to understand how easy it is for people to become complacent, to accept a version of faith that offers little more than a facade of security. My colleagues might admire my position and intellect, but could they grasp the awakening I was experiencing? The fear of judgment loomed large. Yet I realized that remaining silent would mean betraying the very truth I had uncovered. I could feel the weight of responsibility urging me to share these revelations, not just for my sake, but for the countless others out there who, like me, were yearning for something more. With each passing day, I found the strength to explore this new path. I started to reach out to others, sharing my encounters, creating dialogues that challenged the status quo. I saw the flicker of recognition in their eyes, the longing for more profound truths, the desire to break free from the chains of deceit, and the hope of spiritual awakening. I could feel a collective stirring, as if we were awakening from a long slumber. The spiritual war was real, but so was the potential for change. Each conversation was a step toward healing the divisions that our faiths have created, pushing us closer to a deeper understanding of the love that binds us all. But the question remained, would we have the courage to fight for that truth in the face of adversity? Following a severe car accident, I found myself thrust into the depths of darkness, an experience that would irrevocably alter my perception of existence. I'm Amir, a high court judge, and until that day my life had been a tapestry woven with the threads of duty and expectation. I was dedicated to upholding the law, a pillar of integrity within my community. Yet behind that facade lay an increasing feeling of emptiness. The burden of my role, coupled with the rigid traditions of my faith, left me feeling trapped, as if I were merely a spectator in my own life rather than an active participant. As I lay in a coma, suspended in that surreal state, I underwent what felt like a spiritual trial. The darkness around me was thick, oppressive, yet within it, there flickered an indomitable light. When I saw Jesus, radiating warmth and love, it pierced through the veil of shadows, calling my name with a voice so powerful, it resonated within the very core of my being. In that moment, I felt all my doubts melt away. Jesus spoke of the spiritual war that envelops us, a battle that transcends the material world. Claiming its victims through deception and fear, he revealed the hidden agendas of the elite that manipulate our understanding of faith and truth. It became painfully clear to me how societal structures, often fashioned by those in power, distract us from the love and unity that could heal our world. I witnessed the way fear ignites conflict among communities, and how easily we are led to view each other as adversaries rather than fellow seekers of truth. The urgency of his message weighed heavily upon my heart. I realized that my life had become an arena for this spiritual war, and the truths I encountered could no longer remain locked within me. Every revelation from Jesus resonated like thunder, awakening a deep yearning for authentic connection to God that I had long buried beneath layers of tradition. I understood in that liminal space that my role was not merely as a judge but as a beacon of light for others, those grappling with their own questions, those lost in societal deceptions. I could recall their faces, those hesitant to speak out, trapped in the turmoil of their beliefs. The truth of his words ignited a desire within me to share my story, to speak about the awakening I had experienced, and to challenge the deceptive narratives that plagued our world. When I finally woke up, the sterile hospital room felt foreign, yet tinged with the glow of the light I had encountered. The spiritual battle that had unfolded in my dreams now extended into reality, and I was faced with the daunting task of conveying my experiences without fear of backlash. Would my community embrace the awakening I had found, or would they reject me for daring to deviate from the path they understood? The tension between my past and my new understanding loomed large, pressing me to find the courage to confront this spiritual war head-on. I knew deep down that the journey ahead would require not just newfound faith, but also resilience against the odds stacked against those of us seeking the truth. Upon awakening, I felt the world pressing down heavily upon me. My name is Amir, and I am a high court judge in London. After my experience in the desert with Jesus, my perspective had shifted fundamentally. The love and revelation he imparted enveloped me, yet now, Faced with the reality of my new beliefs, I felt the sharp pain of rejection pierce through my heart. The moment I returned to my family and community, it became painfully clear that my transformation had branded me a traitor in their eyes, an outsider who had strayed from the traditions that had defined my existence. In daily interactions, I could sense the distance growing between me and those I once felt so close to. Conversations were stilted, filled with unspoken words that hung heavy in the air. Family gatherings became exercises in tension, and I felt the accusing glances of disbelief as I tried to navigate my way through their expectations. Each time I saw my parents, disappointment, a wave of guilt crashed over me, pulling me back into the shadows of doubt. Was I truly being called to this path, or had I lost my way in a moment of weakness? The fear that I would lose my cultural identity was suffocating, and I found myself grappling with the duality of my existence, devotion to my faith, and the new purpose I felt in my heart. I began to question everything I had believed up until this point. Had my understanding of truth been twisted by the hidden agendas of the elite? The spiritual war one now recognized was not just an abstract concept, but a real struggle involving deception that many are unaware of. Jesus revealed to me the enormity of this battle, showing me the way society is manipulated to divide us, pitting individuals against one another. As I reflected on these revelations, I understood that the barriers I faced in reconciling my identity were not just personal, but connected to a much larger narrative of oppression and spiritual blindness. In my pursuit to find solace and support, I sought out small groups where I could openly discuss my experiences. There, among fellow seekers, I found a refuge of acceptance that warmed my soul. As we shared our individual stories of awakening, I felt a profound sense of community develop, a network bound together by truth and the desire to emerge from the darkness. Each session reinforced my belief that I was not alone in this spiritual war. There were others battling their own transformations, each one reflecting a piece of the broader struggle against deception. It became evident that our collective purpose was to awaken the dormant spirits within us all, pushing through societal constraints to embrace the deeper connections we yearned for. Yet, even as I immersed myself in this new reality, I was burdened by the weight of my family's expectations. Would they ever understand the revelations I'd experienced? Could I reconcile their deep-seated beliefs with the truth that now coursed through my veins? The risk of estrangement loomed large, and as I prepared to speak out more boldly about my journey, doubts crept in, gnawing at my resolve. How could I possibly convey the transformative nature of my experience without being met with disbelief or hostility? Each moment of uncertainty reminded me that the spiritual war was not just mine to fight, it was ours, collectively pushing against the darkness in pursuit of a brighter future defined by truth and love. Would my courage to pursue this awakening lead to a greater understanding and connection? Or would I find myself standing alone, struggling against the tides of tradition? In the quiet stillness of my home, I took the first steps on a path I knew could change everything. My name is Amir, and I'm a High Court judge in London, but my journey began long ago, rooted in a tradition that feels both familiar and constraining. With every passing day, the emptiness within me grew more pronounced. My responsibilities weighed heavily on my heart, and as I engaged with my Islamic teachings, I felt increasingly disconnected from the truths of my own existence. Following my encounter with Jesus, I knew I had to embark on a quest for deeper understanding, even if it meant diving into a world that had once seemed foreign to me. I began my clandestine exploration of biblical studies, pushing aside the fears that whispered in my mind. The Bible, once an intimidating text, reserved for discussions I'd always observed from a distance, now beckoned with a promise of revelation. Late at night, I would read passages, often pausing to ponder their implications. Each verse felt like a thread, unraveling the tightly woven fabric of my previous beliefs. And I found connections to the truths Jesus had shared with me in that light-filled encounter. My heart raced with a mix of trepidation and excitement, knowing I was walking a path of awakening. Alongside my studies, I sought out Christian testimonies, absorbing the personal stories of others who had experienced profound transformations. Listening to their journeys echoed my own, and I felt a kindred spirit in their struggles and triumphs. I was drawn to their testimonies as they spoke of the hidden agendas that exist in our world, the manipulation by the elite, the ways in which society distracts us from genuine spiritual connection. Their experiences ignited a fire in me, a desire to confront the spiritual war that we are all engaged in, a battle fought not only in the world but within our very hearts. Yet, amidst this growing sense of peace and belonging, the fear of losing my identity loomed ever present. I worried about how my family would respond if they learned of my exploration of the Christian faith. The cultural expectations could be crushing, and the thought of being labeled a traitor haunted me. I had lived my life so immersed in my Muslim upbringing, always mindful of traditions and rituals that had shaped my reality. The prospect of stepping outside of that framework filled me with anxiety, forcing me to confront the layers of deception that had kept my spirit shackled. The tension in my soul reached a boiling point when I finally had to ask myself, was I willing to stake my future on the truth I had encountered? The revelation I had received was more than just a personal awakening. It was a call to action that demanded I help others see the light. This is not merely about me. It's about countless others who are yearning to break free from the chains of religious and societal expectations. I envisioned moments of connection, gatherings where we explored these truths together, empowering each other in the face of deception. The path ahead is fraught with uncertainty, yet the urgency I feel to share this journey propels me forward, knowing that together we can navigate the spiritual war that rages on, united in our pursuit of truth and awakening. As I sat in my office one evening, staring blankly at the legal documents spread across my desk, a deep realization washed over me. I'm Amir, a High Court judge in London, and for years I had dedicated my life to interpreting laws and upholding justice. Yet, despite the respect I earned in my field, a profound sense of emptiness lingered within me, hollowing out my spirit. This nagging void began to surface after my near-death experience, a moment when I encountered Jesus in a state of divine clarity. I could no longer ignore the calling that had emerged from that encounter. I understood that the truths I had been shown were not just for me. They were meant to be shared. In the days following my revelation, I felt compelled to dig deeper into the core of my beliefs. What had I really been clinging to in my spiritual life? I had spent so long enmeshed in the traditions of my faith, but I now recognized how those very rituals could sometimes obscure the truth I desperately sought. The unseen forces, often driven by a hidden agenda, shaped the narratives in my community, leading many to accept dogma over genuine spiritual connection. Jesus had shown me this, and with every passing moment, the urgency to speak out pressed against my conscience. Yet, I was fully aware of the danger my decision posed. In our society, questioning established beliefs often invites hostility, especially in circles steeped in tradition. I've heard the words of warning whispered behind closed doors. Amir is straying, they might say, or worse, he's lost. My heart raced at the thought of being shunned, of being branded a heretic. Still, the truth I had experienced was far too powerful to remain silent. The notion of living my life under the shadow of deception felt increasingly unbearable. It felt like an urgent mission, one that required bravery in the face of fear. Throughout this time, I began connecting with individuals who had also experienced similar awakenings. We gathered discreetly in small groups, sharing our stories, our fears, and the revelations that had propelled us toward the light. These connections created a community of like-minded seekers yearning for truth amidst the spiritual war that looms over us all. Each discussion was filled with intensity as we dissected the manipulation wielded by the elite, the ways in which our faith and spirituality are often pawns in a larger game designed to control us. The revolution of love and awakening we sought was slowly taking shape, and together we felt emboldened, understanding that our individual experiences contributed to a greater movement. As I shared my own journey, I felt the weight of my purpose settle firmly on my shoulders. I had witnessed the painful consequences of deception, the fractured relationships, the guilt, and the deep-seated fear that so many carry. It became my responsibility to guide others toward the revelation of truth, to encourage them to rise above societal pressures and embrace the unconditional love that Jesus offers. Each story shared strengthened my resolve, fueling the fire within me to continue advocating for awakening. However, I couldn't shake the fear that clung to me like a shadow, threatening to extinguish the flame of hope I felt rising. I knew then that this was more than just a personal battle. It was a collective journey we were all on, a quest to illuminate the darkness with the truth that could set us free. In a symbolic gesture of liberation, I made the decision to leave my home and assume a new identity, shedding the layers of my past. My name is Amir, a high court judge in London, but now I've chosen to walk a different path, one that aligns with the profound revelations I encountered during my near-death experience. It wasn't just about changing my name, it was about embracing the truth I had uncovered and daring to speak it into existence, even if that meant doing so in secret. I knew that my journey would involve evangelizing in clandestine circles, offering hope and understanding to others who, like me, are seeking the truth amidst their struggles. As I ventured into this new role, each conversation felt like walking a tightrope. The fear of exposure lingered heavily in my mind as I met with small groups of trusted individuals who had also questioned their beliefs. We held gatherings where we could share our journeys, our experiences, and the revelations that had ignited our spirits. I realized just how desperate the world is for a genuine connection and awakening. The spiritual war we face is not simply a personal battle. It reverberates in the larger society, influencing the very fabric of our interactions. In those moments of sharing, I spoke about my encounter with Jesus, how he illuminated the deception we often face from the elite, who manipulate our understanding of faith. I recounted the details of that experience, the overwhelming love I felt, and the urgent call I received to both awaken myself and help others find their way out of the shadows. Each story resonated deeply within our unexpected community. We were not alone in our struggles. Many had sensed that the hidden agendas in our world kept us divided and unaware of the unity that love could foster. Yet, even amidst the camaraderie, I wrestled with guilt over abandoning the traditions of my upbringing. The fear of disappointing my family weighed heavily on my heart. I was torn between the truth I had found and the loyalty I felt toward my past. Could I reconcile my new beliefs with the teachings I had lived by for so long? I felt like a stranger in my own skin, walking a path that both empowered and terrified me. The distance from my family seemed to grow each day, replaced by an inner turmoil that left me questioning every step forward. Despite the tension, a growing sense of determination ignited within me, As I shared my story, I felt the essence of the truth resonate not only with my newfound friends, but also within myself. Every testimony became a catalyst for change, both personal and communal. I understood that we were embarking on a mission, not only to navigate our spiritual awakenings, but to stand against the spiritual war that threatens to tear us apart. The time had come to advocate for this truth, to fight against the deceptions that keep us trapped. With each passing day, I knew that my journey to support and uplift others could very well be a beacon of hope for those still wandering in darkness, seeking their own revelations. Years later, I find myself deeply dedicated to a mission that has become my life's purpose. My name is Amir, and after my profound encounter with Jesus, I understood that my journey was not just a momentary experience. It was a calling to help those who feel lost, just as I once did. In the vibrant streets of London, where cultures collide, I've made it my mission to reach out to those ensnared by doubt and confusion. It's astonishing how many people are out there longing for connection and understanding, trapped in a cycle of despair driven by the deception of societal norms and expectations. Each day, I encounter individuals from various walks of life. Students grappling with uncertainty, professionals feeling weighed down by their responsibilities, and families divided by ideological conflicts. Through my interactions, I share my testimony, recounting the revelation I received during my near-death experience. The spiritual war that's been waged around us often goes unnoticed, yet it manifests in the struggles faced by so many. I speak of Jesus and the completeness of his love, explaining how I once felt adrift amid the elite's hidden agenda to manipulate faith and keep us trapped in fear. With each story I share, I see eyes light up with the promise of hope. I've witnessed firsthand the transformative power of truth. Many of those I connect with had been searching for meaning, feeling isolated by the very traditions that were meant to bring them comfort. My experience has shown me that awakening is possible, that there's a way to step beyond the limitations imposed by outdated beliefs and discover a fuller, richer relationship with God. I've become a bridge for others, a guiding light in their search for truth, helping them navigate the complexities of their spiritual journeys. Yet even in the midst of this purpose, my heart still aches for my family. I hold on to the hope that one day I might reconcile with them, that they too could experience the awakening I've found. The fear of rejection looms, mingled with the guilt of leaving behind the traditions that shaped my upbringing. I wonder if they would see me as a traitor or accept my journey as part of a greater plan. Each day, as I engage in my mission of hope and support, I carry this burden, praying that the love I've encountered can break through the walls of misunderstanding that separate us. As I look out into the world, the urgency of my mission feels more pronounced than ever. The spiritual war continues to escalate, revealing deep societal fractures that threaten unity. Awareness of the hidden agendas that drive divisions inspires me to fight harder for connection and love. I encourage those around me to recognize the deception that surrounds us, to challenge the narratives that perpetuate separation and fear. Together we can awaken to a new reality, one defined by love, acceptance, and the unyielding truth of Jesus. It's a journey that demands courage, but as I witness lives being transformed, I know with certainty that this mission is worth every struggle it entails. In the stillness of my thoughts, I often reflect on the journey that brought me to this point. My name is Amir, and as a High Court judge in London, I've spent years navigating the intricate balance of law and justice. Yet, beneath the surface of my esteemed professional life, an emotional void began to gnaw at me. casting a pall over my every action. The weight of cultural and religious expectations began to feel more like chains than a grounding force. As I continued to uphold traditions that once filled my heart with pride, I couldn't shake the feeling that something essential was missing, a connection to a deeper truth. This internal conflict reached a peak during an ordinary morning, soon after a severe car accident that almost claimed my life. In that harrowing moment, as I slipped into unconsciousness, I was thrust into an extraordinary experience. I found myself in a dark void, a place devoid of sound and light, and I felt an overwhelming sense of isolation. Then, just as despair began to creep in, a brilliant light appeared, illuminating the space around me. Jesus stood before me, radiating love and compassion, calling my name with a voice that felt powerful yet gentle. His presence enveloped me, igniting a sense of hope that I thought had long since vanished. As we connected, I was flooded with revelations that opened my eyes to a reality I had never truly acknowledged. Jesus spoke of the spiritual war that rages around us, a battle fought not only in the world but within our own hearts. He revealed how the elite manipulate society through hidden agendas, orchestrating division and confusion to maintain control. I was shown the truth behind the deceptions that guide our beliefs, often leading us to cling to teachings that restrict our understanding of divine love and freedom. It was an awakening filled with urgency, urging me to confront the reality that I had been blind to for so long. Returning to consciousness in the hospital, I felt changed, like a part of me had been reborn. Yet, the warmth of the revelation I had received was soon overshadowed by fear. Would my family accept this new understanding? Would they label me a heretic or a traitor for embracing a connection to Jesus? The weight of these questions pressed on my heart as I struggled to reconcile my past with this newfound truth. I realized that my journey wasn't just personal. It was about serving as a guide for others who were lost, entangled in their own deceptions, and longing for the awakening I had experienced. With determination, I began to take steps toward sharing my testimony, knowing that the message of truth must be spoken, even in the face of potential rejection. I reached out to those who had also begun to question their beliefs. Together, we explored how our stories intertwined in this spiritual war, discussing the urgent need to break free from the constraints that kept us blind to the love and unity that Jesus offers. The road ahead was laden with challenges, but as I leaned into this calling, I felt a profound sense of purpose. The awakening was only beginning, and I understood that my role was to shine a light in dark corners, guiding those around me toward the truth and helping them navigate the complex journey of faith and love. Now that you've listened to my profound journey, I must ask you something important. Have you ever felt a flicker of doubt in the beliefs you hold dear? A moment where you questioned everything, wondering if there's something deeper at play in your life? Because there is. A spiritual war silently unfolding around us, an unseen battle for truth, freedom, and the very essence of our souls. Through my encounter with Jesus, I saw how the narratives woven by the elite can ensnare even the most faithful among us. They thrive on deception, perpetuating division, while we yearn for authentic connection. I returned from the darkness carrying a torch of truth, igniting an urgent call to awaken others. Each one of you plays a crucial role in this revelation. The chains binding our spirits can be shattered, but it begins with a willingness to question and embrace the light of understanding together. I want to hear your thoughts. Have you ever experienced a moment of awakening that shook the very foundations of your beliefs? Share your stories in the comments below. Your voice may inspire others to confront their own truths. Remember, you are not alone in this battle. If this message resonates with you, don't leave without subscribing to Truth from Beyond and hitting that notification bell. It's vital for you and our community to stay engaged as we embark on this journey of discovery together. What's coming next will delve even deeper into the mysteries that surround our existence. As I wrap up, remember, the truth longs to find those ready to receive it. My name is Amir, and I thank you for joining me as we venture into the depths of understanding and spiritual awakening. Keep searching, keep questioning, and keep shining your light. Until next time.